Anyway, back to some interesting statistics. Game 2K posted this, and it is win percentage. The left is the win percentage of the character for the year in non-mirror games. The player on the row is the top user for that character based on most wins. This is a breakdown of the 2019 characters. It's a response to somebody who said, I don't see why you guys say Akuma is so good when only Tokido does well with him. That was what started with this. It's a very common phrase that you hear people say. And you look and you see Akuma has actually the most amount of players in any top 8 using the character in CPT 2019. This is one thing that's very interesting about narratives and how things like this are looked at. If he didn't make this graph, you would imagine that the storyline would stay, oh yeah, Tokido is dunking everybody with Akuma, and if he doesn't do it, nobody does. That's what the perception is like. It's why it's important for people who are like commentators or players or anybody who has a mouth that can speak about these topics intelligently to make sure that stuff like this they look at and focus on and talk about. Even stuff like there was an event where I was commentating and somebody said to me, you know, Fujimura hasn't been doing very well at the last few tournaments. And I was like, actually, it's the opposite. Fujimura got like 2 first places the last 2 events he went to. It's important for, you know, somebody who's going to be speaking, especially in front of a lot of people, because whatever we say is what other people will hear, and they'll just assume that it's probably true. Imagine if I didn't look on my stream beforehand to see that Fujimura won 2 events back to back, a premiere and a ranking event back to back, and I was on commentary and my co-commentator says, you know, Fujimura hasn't been doing very well lately, and I don't know. I'm just like, yeah. And then somebody in the stream chat's like, man, Fujimura has been getting smoked lately. He sucks. But when the actuality is, he just won 2 events back to back right before that. And I think the same thing happens here when you say stuff like, oh yeah, Tokido is the only Akuma performing well. Then you look at this and you're like, wait, it's actually the opposite. Akuma has the most users performing well in top 8s in Street Fighter V for this CPT season. What other Akuma players? There's no way I can name the 18 others. I would guess like Crossover, Haitani, Takamura, NL, Jawa, Samurai, Kami, Otani. Has Otani been in a top 8? 8 grade, okay. That's not, we got 9. Yoshi, I thought I said him. Maybe 10. That's pretty crazy that we can't even name all 18. Maybe that's why people think it's only Tokido. I can't believe you would say that though, because just Haitani alone would make me feel like you should say someone else. Oh, Taiga too. Oh yeah, Brandon from Singapore. That guy's really good. Other interesting points is a lot of people talk about how Rashid is like just everywhere. 9 Rashid players. Less than Karen, Bison, Ibuki, Birdie, Cammy. Pretty interesting, right? Yeah, and what's interesting too is that there's the game winning percentage. I don't know if this is, I think this is only in top 8. It makes sense given that Karen has Bonchen and Punk playing Karen. Top 2 on the CPT standings currently. So obviously they're winning a lot of tournaments and doing well, which means this character is going to have a high win percentage just based on those 2 in top 8. Itabashi's carrying 2 characters, Abigail and Zangief. But to be fair, when people say that, if you look at the standings, Tokido is the only one in the top 20 with Akuma. Sure, but 17 other Akumas are in top 8 of CPT events. I think you can count making top 8 at CPT events as doing pretty well. Like, is he the best Akuma? Sure. That doesn't need to be argued. Is he the one doing the most with the character? Like, clearly, yeah. But it's important to have data like this because the full story isn't Tokido is the only Akuma doing well. The full story is Akuma is like a really popular character, but despite that, Tokido is the only one performing in like maybe the top 10 or something like that. Maybe that's what is a more accurate statement. Yeah, even if you cut out 14 other people, just looking at like Haitani and Takamura and like the DR Akumas, like just that alone, you should be like, damn, they're good. Akuma's super good. But yeah, this is a really cool graph. This data is extremely useful. Man, Punk is at 151 games in top 8 with Karen. Holy shit. I think that it's important to remember a lot of the times that the information that you say or spread sometimes is not always true. So it is a good reminder to take a look at stuff like this so that you can reevaluate. The Game 2K, who posts this stuff, has tons and tons of charts and statistics and stuff like that. He made this one specifically, I think, asking for what Brian F was asking about, which is Akuma's percentage or whatever, or how many Akuma players there are. The Game 2K, if you haven't looked at his Twitter timeline, has lots of data in there in general. All right, did you make me a liar? There he goes. Yeah, see, there's lots of charts and data and interesting information about CPT stuff or all kinds of stuff. How heavy is everybody's confirmation bias? This is really what I guess we're talking about in this, right? Last year, there was more than 20 KME users who made a top 8. Only 2 won events, and she was 3 to 16 in finals. Yeah, that's pretty bad record for how good that character was, right?